So thinking ahead then, let's think about, I don't know, 15 to 20 years time. What kind of job would you like to have within motorsport?
Race engineer speaks out to me a lot. I've spoken a lot about the communication, um, talking with the driver, uh, and communicating with the rest of the team, kind of being that kind of liaison, speaks out a lot to me. Um, just the intricacy of working with the driver and their feedback, and then translating that into technical changes that we can make to the car, and working with that data like I have before.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Driven Engineers podcast by MatchTech. Today, in this bonus episode, I'm chatting with Hayden Littlehales. He's a student at the University of North Texas and part of their Formula SAE team, where he's been helping build their first electric car. He's done a bit of everything, from working on carbon fiber parts to leading the overall car assembly, all at a grassroots level. Outside of that, he also helps out with Wheels America Racing in the Spec Miata series. So without further ado, let's jump in and find out who our guest is. Hayden, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today. I think we've already established there's a little bit of a time difference between us. So
Yes, absolutely.
appreciate you making those arrangements to get here and talking with us. Gave you a little bit of an introduction there, but I think it's always good just to kind of start the episode off with an introduction by the guests themselves. So perhaps you could tell our listeners who you are, a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so as you said a second ago, I'm a student at the University of North Texas over in the United States. So I do mechanical engineering here, and as part of that, I'm involved with the Formula student team here at the university. We're doing our first electric car this year. We've got competition coming up in this next week, actually, from this recording date. And then outside of that, I also work with Wheels America Racing and the Spec Miata series.
Perfect. So what first got you interested in motorsport then?
I think it probably started and was kind of sparked by my dad's job as a mechanic. And so from that, I was kind of around cars from a young age. It never hit me too much, but then I started watching motorsport as well. I remember vividly an old Monaco a Grand Prix, um, and that kind of just it just struck me. And from there, I started watching motorsport, but it wasn't actually until high school that I knew that I wanted to go into engineering in college. And then senior year, I decided that motorsport is the one I wanted to go into.
Fantastic. I think the US is a little bit different to what it's like here in the UK. Maybe you could just tell our listeners what those steps are. So you've got obviously what we call secondary school, high school for you. Just tell us what are the next steps beyond that and how you go about getting into college.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure how it is over in the UK, but here in the US, we graduate high school and then we usually jump straight into university or college. It's kind of interchangeable here. So I'm in a 4-year program. There are 2-year programs as well at junior colleges, but I'm at a 4-year university, and I just applied and got in. Kind of went from there.
And where are you in that 4-year sort of plan at the moment?
I'm going to be entering my 3rd year this fall.
Fantastic. So just for the listeners' benefit, I give it another 12 months or so, you're going to be looking to get into the actual motorsport world and find your first job, first step in your career.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So tell us, what's it like growing up in Texas with an interest in racing?
I mean, phew, I'm not sure if it's too much different from the rest of the US, depending on where people are. UK, I know there's tons of motorsport. I got local circuits all around. And in Texas, at least, there aren't a ton of circuits. I have a local track that I wish I would have found earlier. I only found it my first year of college. But we have tracks around, and there are a few motorsport events here and there throughout the year, but not too much in the way of professional motorsports. It's kind of scattered across. We've got NASCAR that comes across to tracks around the US. But for international series, it's very much about one time a year. I'm lucky enough that I've got Circuit of the Americas about 3 hours south of me. So I've been there a few times now.
How do you balance your studies with all the motorsport work that you're doing? You mentioned you're part of the Mean Green team, you're doing some other kind of extracurricular motorsport activities. How are you managing to fit all this in and juggle it with the university work?
Yeah, it's a unique challenge, and it's definitely taken me some practice to get to a good balance. There have been some late nights, as I'm sure any university student has had. But yeah, it's just important. It's been important for me to find that balance and find what study habits work for me while fitting in with the schedule. Like for example, if time allows, I like to I'll study normally before a test. But then, if time allows, I'll also come in a little bit earlier before the test and do some last minute lookovers right before I go in. And I found that that works really well going into tests. It makes it fresh. Yeah, it's just about finding the right balance. Got FSAE on the weekends as well as Spec Miata sometimes. And then weeks are always hectic. But yeah, just finding that right balance. But it's taking practice for sure.
That's good, but I think having all those things happening will give you a really good foundation for getting into motorsport. Everybody I talk to who work in motorsport say how fast paced it is, and that you really need to kind of throw yourself in and be quite dedicated. So it's good that you're doing all those things to kind of get yourself prepared for the real world of motorsport, which is great. Um, so, just talking about your university and learning, then, Hayden, what's been the most useful thing that you've learned so far at university?
I think it's honestly hard to choose just one. We learn so much. We have all these different classes per semester. I think the whole experience of gaining all of this knowledge in itself is the most important part of it. It's hard to pick just one thing when all of it cannot be done without the other things. It all comes together.
And again, just hopefully it helps you when you get out into the real world of finding that career. So that's great. Let's talk about some of the extracurricular things that you've been involved with. Want to talk about the Wheels America racing team. Can you just tell our listeners exactly what you do there and how that works?
Yeah, so I came in, and they kind of taught me everything I needed to know. I didn't have a ton of hands-on experience with cars, but they taught me everything I needed to know, very welcoming. So I do some of the standard race prep work for them. I do all the pre-session checks on the cars before they go out, making sure that fluids are topped off, wheels are torqued on, all that. But then also after each session, I pull the telemetry off the car and look through that. And that's important, making sure that we're still reliable with the car. It's helped catch many issues, most commonly any alternators that are failing. We've caught that a few times, just easily looking at the external voltage on the car. Most commonly is the alternator, so that's helped us a lot. But then from that data, I'm also continually trying to find ways to help improve the performance of the car and help give feedback to the drivers from that as well.
That's really good. That sounds really interesting stuff. So, what does a typical race weekend look like for you then?
Yeah, for me, it looks like getting to the track early, usually about 7 a.m., depending on the start time that we have for that day. But getting there early, getting the cars warmed up, checked again, just kind of going from there. Usually about 3 to 4 sessions a day, and just kind of it's a little bit rinse and repeat with cars come off track, do the checks, get the telemetry, but then at the end of the day, we do kind of a little bit of debrief and we do a full check of the cars, we get underneath there, do nut and bolt, uh, make sure everything is sound, then come back the next day and do it all again. Hopefully, we keep good performance or improve upon it.
It's good. You mentioned the alternator a minute ago. My next question was going to be, have you ever had to do a real quick repair, like in the middle of a race or anything like that? Assuming the alternators, you've managed to replace those before they've kind of failed during the race weekend. Anything else that sort of sticks out in your mind where you've had to be part of a team where you've had to change something real quick?
Not too much during a race because our format is short sprint races. So if we come out of a race for any moment, or we're kind of out of the running there. But during a race, a quick taping of the hood is common sometimes. Sometimes it'll pop up and you just can't have that. So running down, getting a roll of duct tape and taping it up, pretty grassroots there.
Trust the old duct tape. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening in who can relate to that. So, what's the most enjoyable part about being at the track? What do you enjoy the most?
I think overall it's very exhilarating being there. When you're passionate about it, you just love being there and love being a part of that. But working in that as well, it's just amazing. Even at this level, it's very fulfilling.
Brilliant. So let's talk about Mean Green. I see the logo on the t-shirt there. I want to talk about the Mean Green Racing Team. What's your role there? Tell us about what you do with them.
Yeah, so right now, going into this next car, I am the master assembly lead. And as part of that, I take all of the CAD files from the other sub teams. So aero and composite, suspension, drive. I take all of those files that they design in SolidWorks and I put them into one big assembly. So that helps us have a virtual rendering of the car so that one, we know what it's supposed to look like once it's assembled, but it also helps us catch any interferences. It's hard to communicate with every system and know exactly if you're going to have interferences just from talking to people. So having that computer model of the car, it's helped us catch many interferences with parts where if we manufactured that, they wouldn't have fit and we would have had to go right back to stage one in design. But catching that in uh, computer programming first has helped us navigate those issues and make sure that they don't occur.
You mentioned SolidWorks there. So for any of our listeners that aren't aware what SolidWorks is, it's something that's really relevant to motorsport. Is the university exposing you to SolidWorks, or is that something that you've kind of undertaken off your own accord to learn it?
Yeah, so as part of my degree, I'm required to take a course in SolidWorks. And so I took that my first semester at university because I knew how important it would be, especially since I wanted to work on the SCCA team. So that was very important to take early on. And then as part of that, at the end of the course, the university also offered us to get licensed in SolidWorks. So from that, I got my SolidWorks certification.
And what's been the biggest challenge working within the Mean Green team? You mentioned that you're having to take all these different areas into an assembly process, but what's the biggest challenge within that?
I think the biggest is communication between teams. I think communication is one of the most important parts for any team. But when we're combining all of these systems together, it's important to have communication back and forth between these teams so I can talk to them about what I still need for modeling and then communicate between the teams to talk about any interferences we have and keep that open line of communication so that things can get redesigned if needed or tweaked a little bit. That communication is just crucial to make sure things keep moving along.
No, that's really good. And do you enjoy the hands-on side more or the design work, which is your preferred area to be working within?
I think personally, I like a little bit of both. So I'm doing mostly design work now, but last summer I also did composites and helped to build some of the carbon fiber for our aero system, making the wing elements and helping with the molds for the nose cone and hood. Both are very enjoying to me. And I think a little bit of both is a good balance. Make sure you don't get burnt out on anything.
Brilliant. So thinking ahead then, let's think about, I don't know, 15 to 20 years time. What kind of job would you like to have within motorsport?
Race engineer speaks out to me a lot. I've spoken a lot about communication, um, talking with the driver, and communicating with the rest of the team, kind of being that kind of liaison, speaks out a lot to me. Just the intricacy of working with the driver and their feedback, and then translating that into technical changes that we can make to the car, and working with that data like I have before. It really just calls to me.
That's good. And I suppose there's some transferable bits there when you said about taking the data from the current car that you're doing, although the data might be fairly simple and just knowing that an alternator's on its way out or the voltage or something like that. But there are all ways that you can help improve. And yeah, being a race engineer with the driver, you're going to be communicating and helping ultimately that car to be faster, score more points, or whatever that might be. So that's great. You're in Texas, obviously in America. Are you open to working in other countries if the right opportunity comes up?
Absolutely. Yeah, I applied for some Formula One placements last fall. Unfortunately, didn't hear back from those, but I'm hoping that with some of this new experience that I have building these skills, um, that maybe a trip overseas is in my future.
That's good. Yeah, I know certainly in Formula One, the when the roles do come available, they do have quite a big uptake in terms of applications. So my own advice really to you and anybody else listening is to be as tenacious as you possibly can and to keep applying and keep putting yourself out there in different ways. What steps are you taking now to try and get your foot in the door? You mentioned those applications. What other things are you kind of trying at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm always building my skills and learning new ones. I'm also putting a lot of effort into networking with professionals in the motorsport industry and those like international series. So last fall, I had the chance to talk with some technical directors from WEC when they were in Austin. And from that, I really got a good look at kind of what that professional paddock looks like and kind of what that environment is like for people to work in. So I observed some of the engineers working on cars and looking through the data. And a piece of advice that really stuck with me from one of the directors is to be fully confident in your work. So do it right the first time and do it so good that you can back it up easily and stand behind it.
That's really good advice. And again, some great advice for anybody else that's listening that might be in a similar position to you at the moment. You mentioned Formula One. It is pretty much the pinnacle of motorsport. Any other series or teams that you'd love to be part of one day?
But yeah, Formula One, WEC, I really like that. I love endurance racing, the whole strategy of it. I've also spoken with NASCAR teams. I think all of it, especially in a race engineering role, it's all very appealing. But I do love endurance and Formula One the most.
Okay, so what's the best bit of feedback that you've had from a driver or a teammate, Hayden?
I'd say just feedback on, I'm still pretty new to this, so feedback from people that have been in this longer than I have has been very helpful. I've had help within my team with the mating in SolidWorks when I'm assembling. Help from suspension has been very important when we have all this complex geometry, because we did redesign the suspension for a 10-inch wheel package this year. So that's been helpful, them helping me out with that mating a little bit since they're the ones that designed it. That communication back and forth is very helpful.
That's good. And a couple of questions, really, just kind of about your work or your life outside of what you do. Are your family and your friends supportive of what you're doing and what you're trying to do as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My dad is a mechanic, is extremely happy for me to be going into this. He's excited every time I'm going out and working with a team or going to a race. And then friends as well are super supportive and excited to see.
Good. That's good to hear. What keeps you going then when times get tough? What motivates you to want to continue and do well?
Yeah, for me, it's just this is my passion. This is what I want to go into, and just keep hitting at it. Some of my experiences have come just from cold emailing the team. I saw Wheels America when I was working as a volunteer for the Sports Car Club of America. I was volunteering in technical inspection, and I saw them come through multiple race weekends. And I finally just reached out, see if they needed any help, and that's how I landed that role there. And I've gone through that. So just keeping that motivation and reminding myself that all it takes is a little bit of application, that confidence and that motive, just keep going.
That's really good. That's really good. And to have that and to have that understanding at such a young age as well, I think you'll go really far, Hayden, with that kind of attitude.
Thank you.
I don't think we touched on it, but I wanted just to make sure our listeners kind of understood the Wheels America Racing. That is a voluntary piece as well, isn't it? That's volunteering for you, isn't it?
It started out as volunteering, but they do actually pay me a little bit now, which is very
Okay,
nice. I didn't expect it, but it is very nice.
excellent. And the Mean Green, that's all part of the university. That's basically like an extracurricular activity that you're doing by the university. Is that right?
Yes, yes, we put in a lot of hours that should be paying work sometimes, feels like it sometimes, but it's absolutely necessary to get where we want to be and gain that experience. So I'm just as happy to do it paid.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. So, just some advice then. What would you say to other young people that are trying to get into motorsport? I think you've already given us pieces of advice and where you are in your kind of process at the moment. But what advice would you give?
Yeah, so um, obviously I'm not a professional. I'm very much still in grassroots level, but my biggest piece of advice would be to just keep pressing forward, keep always looking for those new opportunities and new experiences, keep building your skills, and don't be afraid to send out any cold emails to teams. More than half of them probably won't respond, but all it takes is that one opportunity, and then you just kind of get launched into it.
That's great. Let's talk about your future then. What are your plans and what's next for Hayden?
Yeah, so as I said a little bit earlier, I've got the FCA competition coming up very soon. I'm really excited for that. This is our first EV competition that we'll be attending and competing at. And then past that, I'm really looking forward to working at a 24-hour race with Wheels America Racing. Looking forward to working in that endurance environment, and kind of the longevity of it and all the strategy that goes into it, since we don't have that in our normal Club Series races. And then also looking forward to Endurance Championship coming back to Austin in the fall, hoping to get in touch with more teams there. And IndyCar also comes. So I'm really excited.
That's really interesting, Hayden, and yeah, really appreciate your thoughts and your input there. If there was somebody listening to this episode that may be able to help you with your future career or wanted to reach out for some support, what would be the best way that somebody could reach you or contact you?
Best way to get to me would be LinkedIn. I'm quite active on there. I check that multiple times a day. So that would probably be the easiest way to get to me.
Perfect. That's great. Aidan, it's been really great meeting with you. I know we talk anyway on and off of away from the podcast, but it'd be really good if we could stay in touch. And I really wish you all the best with your future endeavours and whether that might be in motorsport. And yeah, let's catch up again soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.